With the selection of a jury in the Sean Diddy Combs case almost complete, prosecutors are preparing for opening arguments on Monday. But they admit there's a snag. One of their key witnesses against the rapper appears to have gone missing. This comes as we learn that Combs' ex-girlfriend, who was seen on video being assaulted by the rapper, is pregnant.
The trial of Sean Diddy Combs is about to kick off, and it's already a wild ride before anyone even hits the courtroom floor. Things are getting super messy, with one of the key players, known as Victim 3, totally ghosting everyone. Prosecutors are freaking out because they can't track her down and she's nowhere to be found, which is a massive headache for them. This missing witness is a big deal, like a plot twist nobody saw coming, and it could seriously shake up their case against the music mogul. Victim 3 was supposed to spill some major tea when she took the stand, but now that she's MIA, it's throwing a wrench into the whole plan.
Victim number 3, as she's called, was set to testify against the music mogul. The name of victim number 3 was going to be revealed when she took the stand, but the woman has apparently gone missing, and prosecutors say they've been unable to reach her.
People just get nervous, and this person could just be nervous and just has had second thoughts.
If the prosecutor can't find this witness, how might it affect the case?
Look, I don't think it's going to have a tremendous effect. The prosecution is going to call a number of alleged victims. So look, this is just one less.
Someone else is also getting cold feet. A juror sent an email to the judge asking to be removed from the panel for issues of personal well-being.
A lawyer watching all this drama unfold said losing someone like her is like trying to play a game without your star player. It's rough. Sometimes, when a trial gets this huge and all over the internet, people just nope out because it's too much pressure. Still, he's got some hope that the prosecutors can keep the ball rolling if they're not banking everything on her. Another legal expert chimed in, saying a no-show witness cranks up the stress level big time, especially when only a few victims are ready to speak out, even though there are tons of lawsuits and claims flying around. This could make the case feel way less solid. A former FBI agent dished to News Nation about how they keep witnesses safe when things get this intense. Building a case against a megastar like Diddy is no joke. It's like climbing a mountain. The accusations go way back from 2004 to 2024, a whole 20 years of drama, and it's only now that they're finally dragging him to court. Why? Because Diddy's got power, money, and a rep that scares people silent. Plus, a lot of these stories are super personal, like behind closed door stuff that's embarrassing to talk about. So getting folks to open up is crazy hard. Investigators have to work overtime to build trust, making sure these witnesses feel like they're not just pawns in a game to take Diddy down. They bring in special victim advocates who know how to talk to people who have been through rough stuff, helping them feel safe enough to share. And with social media out there, even a shady comment or veiled threat can spook someone, so prosecutors have to stay on top of it, ready to jump in and handle any weird vibes. There's even the Witness Protection Program for extreme cases, where they give you a whole new identity and move you across the country, but that's rare. Usually, they just make sure witnesses know they've got their back if anything sketchy pops off. Diddy's facing some heavy charges, like running a straight-up criminal empire through his businesses, like Bad Boy Entertainment.
Building a case against someone as high profile as Diddy is not an easy job, so I'm going to bring in former FBI agent Bobby Chacon to talk more about this. So, off the bat, Bobby, how do you build a case against a celebrity as well-resourced and powerful as Diddy?
Well, it takes a lot, Sylvia, as you know, because the allegations in this case range from like 2004 to 2024. So this is going to be going on for 20 years, and they're finally getting around to charging him now and trying now. That's because it's so difficult to get people who are not afraid to come forward. This person was powerful, they were rich, they had a lot of influence, they were allegedly violent. So all of those things add up to making it very difficult for investigators to get people to talk to them about these. You add in the fact that many of these things are embarrassing, they're of a sexual nature, they're private, they take place behind closed doors, and that adds to the reticence of witnesses coming forward and talking about these things.
The feds say he used threats, guns, and all kinds of abuse, emotional, physical, and sexual, to get his way. The original indictment even hinted he might come after anyone who dared testify against him, and prosecutors claim he's been trying to scare witnesses from jail. One legal analyst called it textbook witness tampering, like something out of a crime show. They They say Diddy's either bullying people to keep quiet or pushing them to back him up with fake statements. One report even said he dictated a statement for a woman to shut down one of his accusers in a civil case. Witness tampering is no small thing, and the stuff Diddy's accused of is straight up awful, though he's swearing he's innocent and letting the justice system sort it out. Another lawyer pointed out there's probably some truth to at least some of these claims, but there might be people jumping on the bandwagon too. They talked to an attorney repping one of Diddy's alleged victims, who said hundreds of people have come forward, but they're only picking the cases with solid evidence. There was even a wild story in the New York Post about a woman claiming she saw minors dressed up like Harajuku Barbies at Diddy's infamous freak-off parties, sex-fueled bashes that sound like something out of a scandalous movie. She thought they were little people at first, but then realized they might have been kids, which is seriously disturbing if true.
Well, I mean, on the surface, if the prosecutor's claims are true, this seems like pretty much textbook witness tampering, right? I mean, it appears to be an effort to either, in some cases, intimidate witnesses from testifying against him, or there have been other reports of sort of inducing people to make statements in his defense. There was some allegation that in one instance this was a statement that he, in essence, dictated or drafted with a woman who made a statement that was attempting to rebut one of the accusers, I believe, in a civil case against him. I mean, witness tampering is bad. The things that Sean Combs is accused of are terrible. He pleads his innocence. The justice system will presumably work its way through.
It is likely that there is some underlying truth to at least some of the allegations. There might be a lot of underlying truth to a lot of the allegations. There's probably some bandwagoning going on. We spoke to an attorney who's for one of the alleged victims of Diddy a few weeks ago. I believe Amber Nomiki and I did, and they said they had calls, they had information, they had people, hundreds of them, come forward. They're not going to represent all of them. They're, which ones have evidence that can be compelling. What are the best cases to bring that? I also saw a story in the New York Post. This is from a week ago, about Diddy stuff that I wanted to read the headline of. Woman claims she saw minors dressed as Harajuku Barbies at Sean Diddy Combs' freak-off parties, what he was describing there to Conan so many years ago. Said these were sex-fueled parties with what she initially thought were little people dressed as Japanese Barbies. And she said, this is her talking to TMZ, are those midgets? And she actually thinks they were kids dressed up in sexy. Oh, gross. So again, that's just from someone who provided this information to TMZ for a documentary, but pretty disgusting.
It is. No, that's...
Diddy's starring down charges like extortion, racketeering, and even transporting people for prostitution. Yikes. If he's found guilty, he's looking at 15 years minimum, maybe even life behind bars. So far, he's sticking to his guns, saying he didn't do any of it. Picking a jury has been a struggle, with delays because some folks just don't want to touch this high-stakes case. The judge is trying to keep things smooth, but it's a lot. Johnny Depp's lawyer, Ben Chu, dropped some thoughts on who Diddy might want on his jury. People who are hyped to be there, maybe even starstruck by his fame, and probably younger guys since older folks or women might not vibe with him as much. He's cool with jurors who follow TMZ or Rolling Stone, thinking that could work in Diddy's favor. Diddy's defense is gearing up to argue that some of his past relationships were messy on both sides, not just him being the bad guy. That's a risky move, though, because legal experts say even if a relationship was toxic all around, it doesn't erase what he's accused of. It all comes down to power, who had it and who didn't.
I think you want somebody who wants to serve, someone eager to serve, because that suggests that person might be inclined toward a celebrity like Diddy. I would also, in this case, I would want men, not because men support abuse, but I could see this being very difficult for women jurors. I would want younger jurors as well. I don't know that older jurors would be good for him.
Do you care where they get their news? Do you care if they go on social media?
I wouldn't care so much about social media. Certainly watching you on Law and Crime would be a real problem. But no, I wouldn't care too much. I mean, in fact, if they were reading the celebrity media, TMZ, Rolling Stone, that might be an encouraging thing for Diddy's counsel.
Now, Ben, according to the court today, they expect preemptory challenges on Friday.
If Diddy was using his fame and cash to control people, that's a huge problem. And if you didn't play along, you were in trouble, like what happened with Aubrey O'Day. She said she wasn't willing to do what Diddy expected, not talent-wise, but in other sketchy ways, and it messed her up. Back then, there was no Me Too movement, no one to protect her, just a bunch of NDAs and contracts stripping away her rights.
I wasn't willing to do what was expected of me. Not talent-wise, but in other areas. It's difficult when you're that young to understand your worth as a woman through the men that I was around, and that was very traumatic. I don't think any of us have healed from that. Diddy would be like, you're not hot anymore, like what happened? You don't have anything, like you don't have any curves. You're looking like you're not looking like, I can't get people to think that you're my good looking person. And there was no Me Too at that time. There was no protecting anyone at that time. You signed 1 million NDAs and 1 million contracts that took away all.
Gene Deal, a former insider, spilled some chilling details, saying Diddy planned to drug Aubrey's girl group and pimp them out, straight up horrifying. He overheard Diddy say this in a studio, bold as anything, and others heard it too. Jurors usually don't take kindly to defenses that try to pin blame on victims, so this strategy could blow up in Diddy's face.
I know you ain't signed an NDA, clearly, but did Diddy make his artists sign NDAs and people that work for him?
Well, a lot of these rappers, a lot of these industry people, anybody who does business nowadays with the internet, they have NDAs, non-disclosure. That means that if you work for them, you around them, you can't disclose any of the information about them. It's the same thing that he gave to all his artists when he gave them their publishing back. I'm gonna give y'all publishing, but y'all can't talk about Janice Combs, Justin Combs, Sony, Bad Boy, or anything that happened. Y'all can't talk about none of that. But there's some artists that didn't say anything, that didn't sign it, and they able to talk about anything they want to. And I think that's those girls that was, I think Danny Kane. I think a couple of them didn't sign it. And boy, oh boy, they probably gonna go after him too. Cause I heard him, and I'm giving you this, Aubrey. He stood up there and he said in front of a lot of people, we were in the studio, and I said something to him and walked out the studio. He said, yo, I'm gonna drug their ass off and pick them up and pimp them out to my nigga. He said, I'm gonna drug them out. I'm gonna get them all on drugs, and I'm gonna pimp their ass out to my. And I was like, there's somebody kids, and walked out. And it's somebody that heard me. It's somebody that heard me. I mean, well, it's not only somebody that heard me, it's somebody that I know who was in the studio at the time that happened, and I still talk to him today. And we were just talking about that the other day. He done moved back to Indiana. I don't know why. I'm gonna give you that one. He said he was gonna drug them all out and pimp them out. Is that he need to take his counsel advice. Because if he think he's gonna get out of this from the federal government, he out his mind. They in the process of plea bargaining, trying to do a plea bargain session with him, and he not taking it. That's probably why one of the lawyers jumped off the case. Remember Benjamin Bradford, his first lawyer with the Cassie situation? He said, give her the 10 million and make this go away, brother. He ended up giving her 30 million. He's not taking the lawyer's advice. 9 times out of 10, they probably got him a good plea bargain. Yo, listen to me, we can give you 15 years. 10 or 15 years. You do that, you come out, you only have to do like 12, 13. Come out to a halfway house. you still could live some of your life out as a free man. He don't want to hear it. So it is what it is. The federal government do not want to go to court. 9 times out of 10, they want a plea bargain with you. You understand? You accept the plea, you accept the time, you go ahead, you save the government money, you save them time and effort and manpower. If you don't believe that that white guy was a plant, then something is wrong with you. He done sold them enough drug, but they haven't hit him with that charge. They haven't did him with that charge yet, or that we know of. If you don't believe that they're gonna try to hit him with those guns in there, they saving all that for last. The drugs, the guns. They'll do another superseding indictment and add those two up if he don't take the plea. If he don't take the plea bargain to the sex trafficking or whatever, stuff like that, they're gonna say, okay, let's add the guns to it and let's add the drugs to it.
How you feel about Keefe D? He out here crying to come home, man.
Keefe D, I think is a mistravesty of justice that Keefe D is still in jail without a bail, or they're not making his bail low enough for him to go home. For the fact of the matter is that Keefe D was told to say something by an LAPD officer who was writing a book, doing a movie, and making himself rich off of an event that happened in our culture. And that he's in jail because the cops said a lot of these things first.
His team might also try to downplay that hotel video of him fighting his ex, Cassie Ventura, saying it was just a couple's spat, not part of some big criminal plot. Cassie, who's pregnant now, is set to testify under her real name, while most other victims are staying anonymous. Some experts think her pregnancy could make jurors feel for her more, and since she's petite, it's harder for Diddy's team to argue she was equally to blame for any violence. Diddy's pleading not guilty across the board and, according to Gene Deal, turning down every plea deal thrown his way. Deal says Diddy's not listening to his lawyers, who probably got him a decent offer like 10 or 15 years with a shot at a halfway house, but he's not budging. The feds don't love going to trial. They'd rather wrap it up with a plea to save time and money, but Diddy's making it hard. Deal even hinted they might hit him with more charges like drugs or guns if he keeps pushing. By week's end, they should have a jury locked in, which is a wild turn for a guy who used to be music royalty, a billionaire rapper, producer, and businessman. Now he's facing a storm of trouble, with lawyer Andrew Van Arsdale repping 37 people suing Diddy and saying he's got over 400 more potential cases ready to go. A lot of these folks held back because they were scared of Diddy's power and what might happen if he beats the charges. Van Arsdale's team got nearly 27,000 calls about Diddy, narrowed down to 15,000 legit complaints, and thinks over 400 could turn into real lawsuits, some massive.
There is an explosive new lawsuit that I'm going to break down for you, filed by a man named Joseph Manzaro in Florida. And this is actually in Florida federal court. So he is actually identifying himself in this lawsuit. He's not using a pseudonym. And he claims that he is a survivor of human trafficking and sexual exploitation, and more specifically, as outlined in the complaint, quote, plaintiff was drugged, transported against his will, and sexually maimed as a victim of a coercive and organized criminal enterprise beginning in 2015, orchestrated and facilitated by the defendants. The pattern of threats, concealment, manipulation, and psychological coercion persisted for years, extending the statute of limitations under federal tolling doctrines. Now, here is the kicker, quote, high-profile individuals, including Jacob Arabo, Jay-Z, Gloria Estefan, LeBron James, and Beyonce Knowles Carter, are identified as witnesses due to their presence or knowledge of the events surrounding the freak-off orchestrated by defendant Diddy. Wow. And freak-off, of course, is something that we've heard many times before, both in Combs' criminal case and other civil cases, to describe these prolonged sexual episodes, usually with sex workers. But Manzaro is suing Sean Combs. He is suing a man named Eric Mejias. He is suing Brendan Paul, who's been described in another lawsuit as Sean Combs' drug mule, Emilio Estefan, who is married to pop superstar Gloria Estefan, and Adria English, who filed her own lawsuit against Sean Combs, claiming she too was a victim of sex trafficking. By the way, it's interesting he's not suing these other celebrities that I mentioned, like Jay-Z and Beyonce and Gloria Estefan, possibly because he doesn't believe their alleged liability amounted to a civil claim, but seems to want to call them as witnesses at a trial, although I have to imagine they will do everything in their power to quash any subpoena should this case progress, and we'll talk a little bit. Allegations implicate dozens of unidentified witnesses and alleged co-conspirators around the world, and some of the key witnesses to the supposed incidents are dead, basically meaning how can we defend against it? The defense is not even permitted to share the identities of the individuals described in the disclosure letter with Mr. Combs until April 18th, further hampering defense counsel's ability to investigate. Collectively, these new allegations require many months, if not years, to investigate, and if admitted, would require a series of mini-trials certain to double the length of a trial the government originally said would last 3 weeks. So this is an explosive allegation that on its face, I don't know if I necessarily disagree with. If they are bringing in evidence of uncharged conduct, wouldn't the defense have an opportunity to investigate it and challenge it? It seems like they're making a point. So if this evidence is allowed in, there is a chance this could delay the trial significantly. We all know Combs wants to go to trial, but how can he properly defend himself against this in just a few weeks?
Another lawyer, Tony Busby, said earlier this year he's got plenty more cases up his sleeve too. At least 12 different lawyers are handling lawsuits against Diddy, with claims from all sorts of people, places, and times. One lawsuit even name-dropped LeBron James, saying he was around for some of Diddy's freak-off parties, though he's not being sued, just listed as a witness.
The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock you.
Sean Diddy Combs looking to suppress evidence in his federal trial. Senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky is back with the story. Good morning again, Aaron.
And to you, Michael. You'll remember federal agents from Homeland Security Investigations were hardly shy when they raided Sean Combs' opulent homes in Los Angeles and Miami, guns drawn. The jailed music mogul now argues those searches and other searches of his iCloud accounts, electronic devices, and New York City hotel room following his arrest were unconstitutional. His lawyers argue evidence obtained through those searches must be suppressed. Diddy's lawyers say the government presented a grossly distorted picture of reality when applying for the search warrants, omitting certain facts and including salacious details from an unnamed producer that were never credible. Combs has pleaded not guilty to racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and prostitution charges. The defense is also arguing here his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, was a willing participant in drug-fueled sex performances called freak-offs, not coerced as prosecutors allege. This latest challenge to his case comes 3 months before trial, and as Combs loses one of his attorneys, Anthony Rico says under no circumstances can he continue to represent Combs. He offered no details about that decision, Robin.
Okay. All right. Thanks to you, Aaron.
Prosecutors dropped new evidence tied to the civil lawsuits. And though the court docs are redacted, legal experts think it's about Diddy's shady behavior with minors to show a pattern of abuse. With over 36 lawsuits and that video of him beating Cassie, it's looking rough for Diddy. His team tried to get evidence like the freak-off tapes and baby oil from his mansion thrown out, claiming the searches were illegal. But Judge Aaron Subramanian said it's all fair game, so those tapes might play in open court talk about a bombshell. Out of 60-plus civil cases, 2 got dropped. One because the woman wouldn't reveal her identity, and another against Diddy and Jay-Z after Jay-Z denied it and her story didn't add up. Diddy's lawyers are pointing out more holes in other claims, like one guy whose CNN interview didn't match his lawsuit, though Van Arsdale said it was just a paperwork mix-up they fixed. Even though the criminal and civil cases are separate, some of Van Arsdale's clients are working with the feds and might testify. He says this is their chance to finally get justice, and they'll keep pushing no matter how the trial shakes out. If Diddy's convicted, his clients will be over the moon, but for them, it's all about holding him accountable for what went down.